Hello and welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. Back again for another episode, joined by Ali and Fergal tonight. No
Hello.
George. How you doing, boys?
We're doing good.
Very
We're doing
well.
good. Both are back from some travels. I drove for 10 hours, which was fun, more fun than I expected. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's been good.
excellent. Fergal, yourself?
Yeah, just back from Madrid. Had a good wee trip there. Very
Says
warm.
Fergal nonchalantly.
Enjoyed it.
Very warm. Yeah, well, it's been same in England, so it's too hot at the moment. But anyway, enough about the weather. That's not on the agenda today. What is, however, on the agenda for today's
What a
episode?
transition!
You know me, mate, expert.
Nice.
Couple of thrillers in West London and I'm not talking about shows or anything like that in the West End. There was a couple of nice football matches that took place, one at Stamford Bridge, one at the Brentford Community Stadium. Enjoyed both thoroughly for different reasons. We'll start with the dramatic Desmond that took place on Super Sunday today. Chelsea playing out a 2-2 draw with Spurs. Before we get into it, for me, as a neutral, and a neutral being, I hate both thoroughly. I was sort of hoping they'd both lose, everyone would get injured, and yeah, didn't quite get that. But they both failed to
Close
win.
enough.
Yeah, I mean, I
Ante's
think
got an entry.
yeah, but I like Kante. He's all right, you know. I'd have picked a lot of players before him to get injured. But anyway, enough about that. Fergal, emotions coming out of that game today, mate. Firstly, sort of, it's been an interesting build up to. We spoke about this last week. It being a big game for Chelsea, I felt like they had to make a statement because all the talk over the summer and at the end of pre-season and even last week was, you know, talk of a power shift and Spurs having a more impressive summer and sort of looking to kick on and, you know, be the best of the rest behind City and Liverpool. And I personally have been of the opinion that things aren't as bad at Chelsea as kind of what are being made out. I still think you've got a very good team on the pitch. I still think you've got a good squad, a better squad than Spurs and Arsenal. And I thought this would be an important game for you to essentially showcase that. You think you proved it today?
Yeah, I thought I've been down in Chelsea more from a point of view of I think we're should have at this stage we should be going for the title and we're not close to that, and it still feels like there's a bit of a transition needed. That's where my sort of um disappointment was that the fact that there's a lot of players in and around the squad that haven't been moved on and that sort of thing. Sounds like some of those players might be just cut loose. But we'll see what way that goes. But yeah, going into the game, it was like I was worried. I was thinking maybe um it could be Spurs to get the win. Um, but unbelievable performance from so many players. Loftus-Cheek was fantastic. I thought Havertz was one of his um best games in the Chelsea shirt, I think. He was like there was I found the conversation about a proper number nine strange after I only
Yeah.
saw a little bit of it because I didn't get the Sky coverage, so I only saw a clip of it. But I found it strange because I thought Havertz was brilliant and he only just missed a good chance. He only had one good chance.
Yeah.
In terms of what like a typical number nine does, apart from score the goals in the box, he done all the hard running and closing down. The pressing was incredible from Chelsea. Mount was so good. Kante was so good. Sterling was good. No, I don't think anybody had a bad game for Chelsea apart from maybe Jorginho because he made the mistake for the first Tottenham goal. But up until that point, Jorginho was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that's a lot coming from me, but he was really
He
really
must have
good.
been good if Fergal's saying it.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought Tuchel got the tactics spot on. He had Reece James on Song, and he kept Song quiet. He had one chance where he got away and he took the yellow for it. A bit like who was James? It was like the performance he'd done it against Vinicius Junior. Like just like
Yeah.
you know the only time Vinicius Junior got a chance was when James was actually marking him, and
Yeah.
it was a bit like that with Son. So a really good performance. It gives me a lot of hope going forward. Um, I was gutted though with the result.
Yeah.
It was like it was annoying. Like the actual goal was like really annoying because I literally don't know what we were doing defensively.
And you had a
Um,
warning from the first one. It was a similar sort of corner, comes
I
in,
had
and
a
it gets
warning.
tipped
Yeah,
over.
I thought with it being that close as well, Mendy should have maybe claimed that. I thought
Yeah.
like it was right on top of him. I feel like if he's more dominant in that scenario and he has the physicality to do that,
Mm.
he could have came and claimed it or punched it. Um, but there just like there was it seemed like there was three Spurs
It-
players all
yeah,
running
they were
in for
queuing
it.
up. They were queuing
Queuing
up.
up. It was just gonna go in off somebody. It had to be Harry Kane.
Yeah. He was
Um,
awful. Apart from that, he did
yeah,
absolutely nothing in the game. It's an
and
awful performance.
yeah,
Um,
and then like the referee, like
yeah,
Anthony
the
Taylor.
elephant in the room. Have you
Anthony
signed the
Taylor's.
petition?
You know what I might do? Anthony Taylor is the. It won't do anything, but um,
Yeah, well,
Anthony Taylor. Like. It's actually becoming too regular with him. I'm not usually one of these people that are
No,
like
but you will. I think every fan
hate
base
on particular
has.
refs. I
They have
embrace
one
my team.
referee. Yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
it's actually getting ridiculous the amount of incidents that have happened against Chelsea with
Mm.
Anthony Taylor involved. Um, and I like even though the whole thing with the Cucurella one, I'm not too sure. Like I've seen people say it definitely is a red card. I'd like to see the actual law. If for me, it should be, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering is it in one of these things in the laws of the game? Is there like a technicality where they can get out on that? Um, but at the same time, it was right in front of him. He had a clear eye line of that happening in front of
Yeah.
him. There was no players blocking him, so he actually should have spotted that. Um, which is one of these things that annoys me about VAR, which I think is creeping into the game a bit more about like referees not actually making a decision and leaving it up to VAR. But the issue is VAR has a really high tolerance, so it's not like if it was a 50-50 call it'll get looked at. If it's a 50-50 call, it just won't get looked at.
Yeah.
And even if it's a 70-30 call, it won't get looked at. It feels like it needs to be like as we've seen, like
No, they
a
don't look
really.
at it, do they? They go. We've had this
They don't
discussion
look at
many
it.
times. They go to overturn it. They don't go to have a
Yeah,
look.
and yeah, there's like it's the whole thing about VAR, but Anthony Taylor's just had a howler, and then again they've brought back this let it flow sort of attitude again. Um, I feel like it waned in the second half of the season last season. I don't remember it being as much. I remember being at the start of last season, then it seemed to go.
Yeah.
I think probably because managers complained. Um, and I've seen a few challenges over the games this weekend that just like it just doesn't feel right. Havertz definitely has fouled before that, before the first goal, and then Richarlison's offside. That's the Richarlison one. That's the one I'm most annoyed at. I don't know if it was the hustle and bustle at the touchline that made them forget to actually have a look at the goal. But Richarlison's in line with the ball, steps towards it,
it's
and
not
he's
an
in an offside position.
excuse. It's unprofessional
Yeah,
refereeing. It's not. It's not. It's not professional. It's not up to standard. It's not up to par. Um,
actually,
my
I just this weekend that Richarlison one is the worst decision out of all of them. All the other ones I can sort of understand, but the Richarlison ones you say, I think it actually is unprofessional. They just haven't
yeah.
really done their job there to check if everybody's in an onside position.
Yeah.
Um,
Not at all. And
and
but I find
maybe
it.
they checked it while all the coverage was on the two managers. But I don't know how you come to the conclusion that he's not in an offside position because it goes an inch past his foot, um, and it blocks the keeper's side at a point in that.
And the other
Uh,
problem with that is that there's an on-field referee, there's a VAR team, it's not even one referee, and then there's two assistants and a fourth official. So I the interaction or the altercation between Tuchel and Conte should not be a reason to distract from anything at all, including the foul on Havertz, which is a foul, as a matter of fact.
It is a foul. It is a foul. The only thing I would say is on that, how far back are they actually allowed to go? I think we've had this discussion before.
It
Like,
was like a minute and a
it was
half,
such an
wasn't that
obvious
much?
foul. It
no,
should
it
have
was.
been given
It was.
there
It was
and then.
definitely a foul. Yeah,
And it wasn't that long. There was another...
Bentancur stops. Bentancur stops waiting for the yellow card to be given to him.
Yeah. There was another Tottenham Chelsea game in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium 2 seasons ago. I think 2 seasons ago, 1920. Anthony Taylor was the referee. Paulo Gazzaniga was in goal. He came out and literally...
I saw this clip earlier.
He's trying to volley the ball. Kung Fu kicks a man for... I think it was Tammy Abraham. And the foul was... Or Marcus Alonso. Yeah. And the foul was given
the other way
to Tottenham. That just about sums up my opinion on Anthony Taylor.
VAR overturned it in the end.
And they had to overturn it 2 minutes later because the ball was never not in play. After, like, they allowed the foul to be played and then stopped and then went back more than 2 minutes later and gave the penalty. So if that happens, you are allowed because to stop the Havertz one.
That's because they're going back to review a penalty.
But the foul which was awarded was played. So another phase of play entirely has started.
Yeah, but
so
that's not. They're not checking the goal though, Ali. In that instance, they were going back to check the penalty.
An incident. Yeah.
An incident in itself.
But
whereas the Havertz one, they're not allowed to go and review the Havertz incident on its own unless it was a red card.
But
challenge.
Why? It's still a minute and a half ago.
Because it's all stupid. They like it. Like, in fairness, I don't mind the Havertz one. It's like, I think that's just poor refereeing in terms of VAR. I understand why they put a cap on like the phase of plays because, you know, how far back are you gonna go? You're gonna go back to the kickoff, make sure the kickoff was done right. You know what I mean? I get why.
It's a slippery slope.
I get why you have to have a cut point. Anthony Taylor just had a shocker. He missed 2 fouls that were right in front of him that were really, really obvious.
And the assistant and the Havertz one, it was right on the touchline, maybe 5 yards away. Yeah,
but both of them didn't give it, and Bentancur's reaction tells you everything. That like he knew it was a free kick himself.
Yeah.
He was almost gonna go huffing off, and he had to switch on again and play on.
And it's a shame because it was such a good game, and it still has to be about.
In fairness, they've got what they wanted. They got an incredible game. They got a punch up.
They got 2 punch ups.
They got a punch up, and the only reason that happened is because there was bad decisions. Thomas Tuchel would never, if there was a good Tottenham goal that went in. No way Thomas Tuchel is going to get as annoyed as he did. Though Conte did go over and sort of cheer.
He provokes a reaction. Yeah.
He provoked a reaction. So like, I don't think that animosity is there. Unless the Havertz incident happens first, that already gets them off their seat, given off, and then the goal happens, and then it all breaks loose from there. So like, Sky and everyone have got what they wanted there, an incredible spectacle, a great one for the neutral, and Anthony Taylor and Mike Dean, hats off to you have delivered on pure Barclays.
Was it Mike Dean on VAR? Was it Mike Dean? Yeah. Oh wow, because he was on our game yesterday. I mean, and he overturned a penalty. He's not
really tired, is he?
No, what I was gonna say is I was staggered. I mean, we all have those referees that you just don't vibe with as a club. I mean, I don't think anyone vibed with Mike Dean, to be fair, but just
a lot of people vibe with Mike Dean. He is popular.
I think a lot of people vibe with Mike Dean.
I don't.
When he was refereing against Arsenal for the because he just never gave us anything, but he did overturn a penalty yesterday. So he knows how to overturn stuff. He does know how to get involved. So
yeah, it's
not an excuse. It just I think where you're unlucky is you've mentioned like kind of you've mentioned multiple incidents. We've had this discussion before. Multiple incidents that don't go your way, and some of them are marginal. Some of them I think are just bad decisions. For all of them to sequentially go Spurs' way in a game which I don't think they played that well in. I don't think they offered a lot. They stuck in there. If you're going to give them like the benefit of the doubt, they stuck at it.
I think it was more Chelsea just didn't.
So this is what I was going to ask you. Like,
didn't finish them off.
If you're going to be critical of Chelsea, as I was going to come on to, they played so well in that first half. really controlled the game. Were they ruthless enough? Did it translate into enough chances? Obviously, didn't score enough, but like, was there enough there given how well you controlled the game? Or is there still that nagging doubt that it's just not quite clicking in the final third?
I thought that I'm much more positive about all that. I think it will come. One of the things that Sterling got to the byline at one point and put a chip ball across to the back
Nobody there,
post.
yeah.
Nobody there. That'll come with time. 'Cause if it had been Chilwell or Alonso on the pitch, someone who had been knows the team, they're at that
Yeah.
back post.
Yeah.
And Cucurella's just knew. Because the amount of times I've seen that from a Chelsea wing back being at that back post.
Yeah, it's a trained pattern of play. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Cucurella
So
isn't someone
that'll come with Cucurella recognizing that opportunity, and that'll be a goal in the future. And Loftus-Cheek as well. He's getting better and better and better. I like him as this sort of right wing back.
I was going to say, because you did that against
so
Real
dominant
Madrid.
of
You mentioned
setting
that
up.
Real Madrid game with the Vinicius on Reece James, and you did that in that second leg. It's a really powerful right-hand side for Chelsea. Like, you're not getting much down that side as kind of an opposition. Very physical. That they're going to run in both directions. Spurs had nothing down there, and I don't think many teams were, to be honest with you. He was impressive.
He was, he's just Loftus-Cheek. He just needs to get his end product again, because there's a couple of times he made great dribbles and I thought he just should have released it a bit quicker, but he had some great moments, and I think the only thing is I'm a bit tentative about is this was Spurs, so of course we're going to be up for it, and I think there's things writing people off. I want to see this consistently.
Yeah.
So on to the next game. If we play that well against most other teams in the league, we'll win very handily.
Win a lot of games.
But I want to see it a couple more times before I fully believe that we're on our way to looking like a really good team.
And I will say just one more thing on how Tottenham approached Chelsea and the lineup that had Ruben Loftus-Cheek obviously as a right wing back, and he did so well, but I felt that the backline structure, so to speak, was there to be got at, especially for someone who can dribble as well as Dejan Kulusevski does, someone who can make runs like Heung-min Son does. Reece James is a very, as a third center back, he was in very advanced positions. When Loftus-Cheek is an attacking-minded player for the position he played today. Koulibaly, and I mention this every time, he can be got at and dribbled at, and you can, if someone like Kulusevski can get past him, test him at least. None of that was tried. Like, Harry Kane was way too deep, and it played into Chelsea's hands.
Yeah,
and then you didn't find those runs from Son because the especially in the first half they were way too isolated, so the ball was never on, which is something Chelsea did really well with.
Oh, that was by design, though. Like I think
was to force Harry Kane back, and then you saw the back line push up a little bit to make the team shape for Tottenham more compact, but they never figured out how to isolate Koulibaly, how to figure out how to get out the hole that Reece James would leave. Thiago Silva obviously had an excellent game, but I felt like Tottenham should have done more. They're just so lucky to come away with the draw. I can't believe they did.
No, they are. It's a better result than it is performance, and I think
absolutely.
It's one of those, like, if you offer them a Desmond, they'll take it, and I know they might have.
You know what? I don't know if they would have.
I honestly think, Vogel, given their record there, and let's remember here, right? And I know we mentioned all the positive spin around Spurs, and it's a bit doom and gloom at Chelsea. You played them 4 times last season. You beat them 4 times. They didn't score a goal. They offered nothing in any of those games. If you offer them a draw today, they're taking it, especially where they scored 2 goals. Now, they might not have deserved to score 2 goals, but I think that they've got to just take that and move on, because let's be honest, they didn't deserve a draw. They didn't offer anything, really. They as I said, they stuck in there as the best I think you can offer, to be honest.
I think if Antonio Conte team sort of had the transfer window that they have and the sort of hype around them. Maybe not the fans, but I think that team should have been expecting more from themselves, and they came away delighted because they were like delighted they got anything.
They knew
out
they
of
didn't
that
play
game.
well. Yeah, they got.
But
That's exactly it. They got out.
I'll never slag off fans for over celebrating because
No.
they're like 96-minute equalizer, unbelievable. Yeah. I thought the players were a bit over the top. I don't know if just don't know if their mentality's there yet for
No, Conte said it though. So in his interview after the game, he was like pretty candid about it. Say, look, Chelsea showed today that they are better than us at this stage. On the 14th of August, 2022, they are a better team than us, and they have to change that. If you're, projecting for the rest of the season on the back of this performance, you'd expect Chelsea to finish above Spurs, and I still do. I predicted that, and nothing I saw today changes that, despite the fact it's a better result for Spurs than it probably is for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Moving on. Manchester United.
Yeah.
I mean, where? Yeah, I know. I thought you might like this, Ali.
Yeah.
Where on earth do we start with this one? I mean,
you know what? It's actually starting to get a little bit boring because everything we're about to say now has been said before. But it's worse. Like
it is worse.
It's just about finding the words to express how worse it's getting.
Yeah.
Not the
you know what else?
Go on.
You know what else? Because it's very similar to that chat. What's now become a meme is the whole Manchester United.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
That phrase has now become a bit of a meme in itself. But I wonder how long will it be before that phrase, when the pundits are saying it's Manchester United, how long do you think it's going to take for that to be flipped on its head? In that, at the moment they're saying it as it's Manchester United, you should expect so much more. But how long will it take for people to say, the way they say it, like Spurs?
Spursy.
Spurs.
Yeah.
How long will it be before Manchester United,
to be honest, mate,
getting beat again by some
it won't be long.
And instead of going, it's Manchester United, should be better than this, it'll be, well, what do you expect? It's Manchester United.
I honestly think stage, but I think we are. I think when you look at these two games that they've started off with, right? Let's give Brighton and Brentford their dues. They're decent Premier League opposition. Like, there's no easy games in the Premier League now, right? And they are well organised and they cause problems, in their own ways. And I think if you're not on it tactically, you're not on it mentally, you're just not at it, you're going to get exposed by these teams. Having said that, I didn't think it'd be 4-0 down after 40 minutes.
I have never seen a goalkeeper go down in the way they did for the first goal. I've never seen a goalkeeper dive to a side and close his hands in the way he did, in a way where if the ball is
Robert
up.
Green,
No, Robert Green made a mistake that's similar to other mistakes you would see where
he went with the long barrier.
Yeah, he goes down and the ball ends up sliding between his feet, but De Gea tries to close his hands on the ball while diving in a very easy routine. So you just go down to your side, close your hand, open your hands up to the ball, your other hand's on top of the ball, and you catch it. You just catch it. It's routine.
We're all goalkeeping experts on this podcast that are combined 15 feet between us or whatever. We know what we're doing in goal. We've got a lot of experience. It was dreadful. I mean,
it was.
It was dreadful. I mean, I think you could have any bloke sitting watching that in the pub and he'd see that and go, that's not right. That is not how you save the ball. I mean, it just didn't look right quite. And it ended up in the back of his net, so it can't have been right.
Because it was right between his hands. That
but it just set the tone. It set the tone for them what followed, which is just absolutely calamitous. It wasn't just that they were 4-0 down. They were 4-0 down, genuinely conceding some of the funniest goals I think I've ever seen. The second goal, it gets played out, and you can't get caught in your own box like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable to get caught in a position like that. The third goal is so predictable when they pick a team full of midgets, essentially. And I'm not, not Martinez. We're clear on our views about him on this podcast. We don't blame. We absolve him of all blame.
I don't like that.
I don't like that word.
I don't like it. No, I don't like it. No. No.
Yeah,
We championed all short kings, Harry. It's not about Lisandro Martinez. It's about short people.
Listen,
we have
mate,
an
it's hard to
award
call them
for
short kings when they've
people.
lost 4-0. They've
Well,
not done the short like they've not done us proud,
And
mate.
It's about people. It's about people.
They've disgraced the good name of short people. I'm actually disgusted. I think it's appalling. I think that's the worst part about what I saw from them. To be honest, was it's unacceptable. I think personally on this one, Ten Hag has to take a lot of blame. I know people are going, he's not had his transfers, he's not got his team there. Okay, that's fine. I accept that. They've not done well in the transfer window. They've not got his players in. But you have to show an element of pragmatism. You don't just go, "Oh, we're going to do what I want anyway, and we're going to get beat," because you're not going to win people over doing that. And the example I would give is Arteta. And look, I'm not saying by any means that Arsenal are where we need to be yet. Yeah. But when he came in his first 20 games or whatever, he came in, played a 3-4-3, and just accepted, look, we're going to play this way. It's not what I want to do long term, but we do not have the players at this moment in time to open the game up and play the style of football that I want to play. And if we do that, we're going to get hammered. We're not going to get hammered by good teams. And this is what you're seeing at the moment with Man United. They're playing opposition who, as I said, they're good, they're well organised, but they're not top teams. You can't be getting beat 4-0. You can't be 4-0 down at half time to Brentford, with all due respect. They're awkward, they pose a threat, but it's so naive. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I can't get over how bad Eriksen was. Like for the second goal,
he's just in the wrong position. He's not a number 6.
Yeah, because he's
playing
out of position.
He's good enough to deal with that.
But he's not doing Fergal. He's never played that role where he's taking the ball off the goalkeeper in his own penalty box.
And he didn't even want it. He didn't want it.
I know what you're saying. You'd expect better. He shouldn't give the ball away.
Goal at times,
he shouldn't give the ball away there. But my point is that when you talk about top professional footballers, you have to appreciate that stuff like that, if it's being practiced, and it will be in training every single day, it becomes metronomic. You just know where people are going to be. It's telepathic. You receive the ball here, you're playing it there, you're playing it there. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You watch the top teams do it. He's not in that position. So he receives the ball. It's so disorganized, not just by him, but by everyone back there. Of course he's going to be uncomfortable.
But here's
of course
the thing.
He is.
He doesn't even receive the ball because he never wanted it.
No one did. That was the other thing.
De Gea, it's not about that. It's De Gea not seeing, because De Gea is not adept at playing the ball from the back. So his vision is back.
already taken a knock on his confidence as well. So he was already like shaky.
The other thing,
he's not good with his feet.
But he doesn't see Matthias Jensen. That he was like stood right next to Christian Eriksen. You just don't play this ball in this case. If you're a ball playing goalkeeper, you like goalkeepers that play out the back. No, it's a really poor pass to the wrong person who doesn't want the ball, who is in this position not to receive the ball, but to drag someone from midfield for like man marking purposes. Like so you have 3, and then you can have, like, if you play one over the top to midfield, let's say McTominay drops in and receives it, or Ronaldo gets a flick on. That's 3 or 4 or 5 players that you're eliminating from Brentford in one go. That was the purpose of it, I think. So De Gea shouldn't be passing the ball. I think De Gea it's a pure mistake by De Gea. It's not by anybody else, not by Eriksen.
No, I think Eriksen's got it. You still can't lose it there. I mean, granted, as I said, he doesn't play
still
that
got
position.
the option of kicking out for a throw in.
But he never receives the ball because he never anticipates it. Because
he touches it and tries to get it.
He does touch it. He didn't want it. Like, you're right. Yeah,
like he doesn't check his shoulder, because if he turns the other way, he actually would have got away with it. He actually turns the
wrong way
to his left shoulder to go right to the right back, because that's where the United players were set up to go. They expect because I think it was Dalot was actually free. If De Gea had actually chipped the ball into Dalot, they might have got out of the situation. But they're just like, it's an absolute like disaster what United are at the moment. Like. And the whole thing with Arnautovic is just bizarre as well.
But it's not just him. It like and that is another example of the shambles that they are at the moment. They're in for him, and then people go mad about it online, and then there's an article the next day in the Athletics, and they're not in for him now because of the backlash that's been
Honestly,
received by the fan base. Like that is not
it's
how
so
you.
clear that there's like just so much noise and too many
They're
cooks.
too receptive to it. They are too receptive to fan opinion. And granted, look, we all have our opinions about how clubs should be run, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. But these guys are supposed to employ people and empower people that know better and are smarter and have a process. You're not supposed to just buy people because you think they'll sell
Yeah, this
shirts
is it.
and get their
If
fan base
Arnautovic,
up.
if they genuinely thought Arnautovic, he's the solution to all of our problems,
They
just
do
go
it.
out
They'd
and
have
buy him,
conviction.
and then because you know you're correct and you know that you've proven right, you go out and buy him. You've belief in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and the fans will get on board whenever Arnautovic sticks two in. If that's actually the genuine solution to the problem, and we're just, us football fans are just too stupid to think that Arnautovic is 34 and past it.
Yeah.
And he's
No,
not
but
good enough
exactly,
for
they
Man
would know
United.
better. There would be a reason as to
Yeah,
why they've identified him
but
as the player that
that's
they
been
want in
United
that
all
position.
over. They've constantly been. They've never committed to. I don't think they've ever fully committed to any of their managers they've had since Ferguson. It's always been like, it always feels like they've never fully went for it, or they've went for it for maybe one summer, but then back at the next. And maybe sometimes that was right, maybe
Yeah.
sometimes that was wrong. But they, like, it was on Mourinho as well. Like they didn't want to sign any of the players Mourinho wanted because it went against the culture of United. But then what's the point of getting Mourinho in the first place?
Might as well just sack him there and then. Yeah.
Yeah, all these things, like, so it's so clear to me that they have so many of these, like, people above the manager, that they have this board that are very, like, influential. They have all these, like, the Darren Fletchers, and I can't even remember if he's still there, but like they have so many of these, like,
No,
sort
he
of
is. Yeah, he's still there.
roaming directors of some point, just like in the ether in between, um, you know, Ten Hag and that car salesman that they have running the show. In between it's just like, what is going on? I can't believe it that, like, I genuinely thought they actually understand it now whenever they got Ragnick in, because my thinking was like, they don't want to rush into another bad decision. That I totally get that they're actually writing off a whole season bringing Ragnick in. It's actually,
They're
it's
thinking
a
about next season.
Yeah.
short-term loss for a long-term
Yeah.
gain. They're actually
Yeah.
thinking about it. They got Ragnick in. He told them all the answers, and they still went, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that." And then what manager will we go for? Well, what one's the flavor of the month? What one are the fans on board with now? They're not so big on Pochettino now, so we'll go with Ten Hag. Maybe that's the right decision, but for me, that was definitely dictated by the fans on Twitter wanting
Fan
Ten
sentiment.
Hag more than Pochettino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like,
Social
now they're in the
media
position
research.
they've got Ten Hag, and there's still not a clear process. Like, I genuinely think I'd do a better job running Man United. Like,
You've got to remember as well, Ten Hag has basically been there since the end of April, early
he
May.
went there
That's when it was.
early as well. He was
Yeah.
meant to go to a thing, end of season tournament with Ajax. Left,
And he cancelled that, and he was at the Palace game, but he was announced in, I can't remember the date, but it was late April, early May. That's when they said he is the manager, right? And they would have probably known before that. And I would have thought from that moment on that the season was gone by then. They weren't getting top four. That the rest of the games for the last 4 or 5 games, whatever it was, where they went on that losing run, it didn't matter because it had gone. It was all about next season and blowing the whole thing up and resetting, because they had players leaving the club. You got a new manager coming in. He needs players to play his way. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how they're so ill-equipped for the first 2 games of this season, where there is a premium on getting off to a good start. There's 5 games before the window shuts. So even if they get deals done late in the window, if you've lost 3 or 4 of your first 5 games, which, let's be honest, they got Liverpool next week, they could well do that.
They will. It'd be against all the odds if they do get a result against Liverpool. Like,
Can
absolutely.
I say something different? Because obviously all that's happening to United is hilarious, and there's no end in sight, and that's great. Last season, we were kind of saying the same things about Arsenal.
Which I was
are
gonna.
in a much better place than Man United are. There is no end in sight for Man United, though, because of the complete lack of a recruitment structure or strategy or personnel. Whereas Arsenal had that, at least, and we still didn't realize. And fans of football in general have very short, first of all, memories, and second of all, patience, and that's fine. We're just football fans. We're having fun. We're reacting things. It's a sport. It's it's free fun time for most people anyway.
Yeah,
But Man United genuinely don't have an end in sight, because there's
they don't.
no strategy to it, and I'm astonished that that's the case, and that Ten Hag agreed to the job on those terms. It's interesting.
We should say, right, so they will get players in. I'm absolutely certain they will get multiple players in now. Whether they'll be any good is a different question.
Yeah,
the reason
the odds now because of the big
because of what's gone
backlash,
on. It's not a good position to be in. It's not a good position. All I would say,
they'll go out and get whatever big name. They'll probably go and sign De Jong now. They'll probably just tell Barca, we'll give you whatever money you want.
The last thing I'd add on this is, if you're comparing the two, because they are essentially in a position where they're likely to lose their first 3 games now, which, as you said, we did last season. We had a lot of players missing. I don't want to make excuses, but I was saying at the time, the team you're seeing now will not be the team for the rest of the season, and it wasn't. And I'm not saying I necessarily expected it to get better to the degree that it did. I just thought it would be better than 20th.
Yeah,
there's Man United will get better. They'll probably finish 6th. They probably are the best team after but I think they're a long way behind the 5 above them at the moment. What I'm seeing from them is so poor. They haven't improved at all from the end of last season. They're so ill-equipped for the start of this year, and as you said, there's no. They've got really. Let's be honest. They're going to get players in, but they don't know who they're going to be yet, and they've got no one coming back from injury. So there's no one to hang your hat on and go, okay, yeah, but we'll get him back and we'll get them back, and we're missing key parts there, and we'll be better with. There's just none of that. It's all unknowns. It's all hypotheticals and speculating, and it's more that they just can't be any worse than this. They really can't be. What they've spent, and they showed the graphic on Sunday, something like 450 or Saturday, 455 million compared to 55 million from Brentford.
Yep.
Pound for pound, the worst run football club in the world. I think you can make an argument for someone else, but I think
Barcelona.
given, I mean, look, I'm not going to argue with that.
In fairness to them, it might be dodgy what they're doing, but they're still getting good transfers in. Like the players they're actually signing, they're actually good players.
They're still competing at the top level as well. They're still relevant. They won the league a couple of seasons ago. Man United haven't won the league since 2013.
That is true.
And they've not been close either. They just haven't been.
Barcelona, they signed Rafinha and Koundé this summer. Everybody will say they're good quality players. The ones United, it's actually unbelievable. Just they've had a year to basically, ever since they sacked Solskjaer, they've had from that time to now, or before the start of the season, to plan the whole thing out. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna go about it? What do we want to look like?
Yeah,
you imagine what. There's loads of stuff that have changed more in that time.
Ten Hag must have had demands as well. When they sat down with,
I don't know why I'm getting annoyed. I'm a Chelsea fan.
No, but it's true. So when they spoke to Ten Hag, and we'll move on because it is a boring discussion, but because you're just saying the same things over and over again. When they sat down with him, his position was a strong one because they were so bad when they would have come to him and said, "Look, we want you to be the next manager of Man United starting next season. What do you want?" Right? I'm not saying those exact words were said, but there's a discussion of, okay, when I come in, I want to do this. These are the sort of players I want to bring in. This is the style of football I want it. There would have been that discussion, and I can't believe how little they've actually done when you think about it. They've essentially gone, yeah, well, we've got a load of players out of contract. We've got a load of players that aren't very good, that have dragged us to 58 points, our worst ever league tally for 30 odd years or whatever. There you go. Crack on, Eric. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know what more to say about it. I love it.
I'd love to sit in, imagine the All or Nothing. You could do an All or Nothing series on just the transfer window for United. There'd be enough
8 episodes
conversations,
of that. 8 episodes,
and enough funny meetings that would just be there'd be enough in that for you to just sit back and enjoy and laugh. Yeah, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall for all these discussions whenever Ten Hag was signed on to now. Like, but quickly on that, just before we move on, what have you thought of the All or Nothing so far, Harry?
Yeah, so obviously, as an
Arsenal.
Arsenal fan, I have a vested interest in like the people that are in it, the players and the manager and the technical director, the people working above him. Look, it's interesting. I said the same when I watched the Man City one. It is interesting to get an insight into it. I think there are
Well,
certain things.
I like seeing the different meetings that they have. I like
Yeah, yeah.
is
You
it
just
Questas? What do you call the
the development fella. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Quest.
find
Yeah,
his role very interesting.
yeah, yeah. Well, you just see all that sort of stuff. I mean, look, you
Mm.
assume it, but it's good to actually, have an insight into the sort of stuff that's being said. It's quite funny with the bit. I don't know whether you would have got to it, but they get Lacazette down and sort of speak to him about essentially how to score goals.
Yeah,
And I was thinking, yeah, all the Arsenal
more like
fans are saying
Benzema
this.
was basically
We
the
should, yeah,
answer.
we should have signed someone in January, I think. But yeah, if you're telling him to be more like Benzema, I mean, fucking hell. I mean, good luck.
Um, what I can't get over is the team talks, because
Yeah, they're
I didn't.
strange. But what I would say,
I'd love to know if that is similar to any other managers or
I think you'd be surprised, Fergal, what is said.
yeah,
What you've got to remember is all the tactical stuff is done in the week. So you're not
yeah,
going
of
into the
course,
dressing room and breaking down the tactical intrigue. You might do a bit of that at half time where you see they have some of the clips up on the projector or whatever, stuff that's gone on in the game. But I think before you send the players out, it's all about motivating them at that point.
definitely.
And some of the stuff, let me be honest with you, it's corny, it's a bit cringy, but
I'm wondering though,
it's
is that all
stuff.
the players can handle? Do they
But it
need the
must
drone?
be. It must motivate these guys. These guys, like it must work. You have to remember their brains work in a far fucking different way to ours. They're motivated in a different way than what we are.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it personally when he's getting them in a circle and getting them to hold hands and do all this like visualization stuff. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me. But we went out and beat them 2-0. So it worked in some capacity. We started that game well. We actually did what he was talking about in that particular instance. The Tottenham one where he gets the photographer in. We went out and smoked them. Like some of this stuff, it clearly works. I think that there is, there's a novelty to it that probably wears off. I don't think you can just do the same thing over and over again. I'm interested sort of like how he comes up with some of this stuff, like the Liverpool one where he's like talking about having a good night and like going out and meeting girls and stuff like that. It was, it did make me laugh to be fair. But
That's what interests me more about that is like
yeah,
I'd love to see the discussion he has with like his coaching staff or like
what are we doing
I've got a
tonight?
great idea, Gaffer, for the next one. You know, like I've got a joke you can use. Like I genuinely find that interesting. Like because I didn't think they'd put so much thought into these sort of team talks. And I was just surprised. Like I'd love to ask all the Arsenal players about the whole heart and brain one. Like, did they? Because if that was me, I would maybe if you're in that zone, you're like so focused on the match and you're just listening to anything the manager has to say. But that was me, I'd be cracking up. I'd be nudging my mate, going,
quite funny.
are you seeing what I'm seeing? What is this?
Like, I know. I just think it's difficult to get into the headspace of these guys.
But then you look at Smith Rowe, and Smith Rowe's just going.
Yeah, he's not a good way intended.
Smith Rowe is my favorite character in all of it. I just find him. I find him more adorable than Saka.
Adorable.
It all went downhill though when he was talking about like getting a Nando's. I was thinking, yeah, he did seem to put on a few pounds like, in the second half of the season last year, and he's picking up a few injuries and on the yeah.
My favorite bit was whenever he was talking with Lacazette outside, and Lacazette was asking him about like what he was wearing, and Lacazette said, "Oh, you've gone with how come you went with the black and white?" And he was just like, "Yeah, man, went with the black and white in it." And like,
I would love to think
he was like,
God, I'd love to think that, especially Arteta, I'd love to think that he was just acting for the sake of the documentary.
You think it's that bad?
I'd love to
think so.
I'd love to think that. I've only watched little bits of it. I haven't actually sat down and watched it. But I don't think. I'd love to think that that's the case.
I don't like the Anfield one. That's the one I really thoroughly didn't like. I just didn't. Yeah, I think he comes across pretty well for like
Does.
parts of it. I think like you can see the pride he takes in his work and how much it means to him, and the thought that goes into it. Which, to be honest with you, is the bare fucking minimum. But it's nice to actually see it.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Anfield stuff. Stuff like that is just nonsense. I don't know if that was done for the
the
cameras.
speakers and stuff.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
You can't replicate that. That just comes with playing
No,
in
it's
those
just-
games more
yeah.
and more. I'm surprised that someone that has played in like the Liverpool Everton derby that he thought that playing music would help with that. Like
It didn't.
yeah.
It didn't, and he poured like petrol
Sweet.
onto the fire by beefing Klopp on the sidelines as well. He didn't do us any favors that day. Anyway, moving on. Should have added while we're on Brentford Man United. Martinez won't be getting short King of the Week. He won't be getting it this week. I think when they've conceded 4 and he got taken off at half time. Just
And
he
he
was
was
a little bit.
at fault
I
for the
thought that
second
was
goal,
just
didn't
to
he?
save him. I thought that was just to go. Look, I'm sure Ten Hag pulled him aside and went, "You beautiful short king. You know you don't deserve to be out there. I'm gonna pull you off.
Yeah, you're better than this."
And then I'll take you off the pitch as well. You can sit on the sideline for this one. That's my thinking on that, because we all know Martinez is the next Fabio Cannavaro reincarnated, and it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely agreed.
If not him though, who are we nominating? Because I have a question for you fellas. Martinez is 5'9", but he's a centre back. Now, is 5'9" short enough for a striker? Because if it is, then I've got a suggestion. But what are we saying?
I know you.
I'm on the edge with this. You know what? We should have looked up. We should have looked up what the average height of Premier League players is.
I think I can find that for you right now. Let me.
Yeah, if we
see
can
Google
find
can get
that
it.
out, because that would be useful to know. Because I don't think we should be comparing them to the average height of the average male man in the UK.
No.
Because most Premier League players, a lot of them are selected because they are taller, bigger, which is completely racist in my opinion. I hate that about the game. It needs to be stamped out. Part of the small people. But
really.
But yeah, no, I think we need to I'm not sure about it. 5'9", I mean, it's taller than me, which maybe makes me uncomfortable because he's taller than me. But maybe 5'9" is good enough. It's Gabriel Jesus you're talking about, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I think Gabriel Jesus absolutely has to get it this week. 5'9" is absolutely short enough, and it's confirmed by the fact that, well, I don't know if it's a fact. It's according to soccerprime.com. I don't know how reliable that is.
Yeah,
the average height of...
we'll go off it for now.
Yeah, we'll go off it for now. The average height of the Premier League is 5'11.9".
There we go. He's in. He's
182.6 centimeters.
I'm happy to back Gabriel Jesus. The other one I was thinking of was Kante. Or if we want to go down another route, Mike Dean. He delivered again. He steps up on every occasion, delivers prime Barclays Premier League moments.
Did.
No.
And as much as it hurt me this time, I can't help but admire the artistry of the man. He always steps up. So Mike Dean was my other one. I think he's 170. He's 5'7", 5'8", I think.
There you go.
He's even shorter than Gabriel Jesus, which means he's actually higher in my books or lower, depending on what way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go with Gabriel Jesus as the second ever short king of the week.
Congratulations to him. I'm sure he'd be absolutely delighted when he gets wind of it, because it's a prestigious award, and he's done well, and he's done well to start his Arsenal career as well. I think Chelsea should have been all over that, talking about strikers and who they could bring in. I'm really surprised he
would have suited him so well.
I think he would have been. I mean, I think he'd be good for a lot of teams, but he's just so good. I can't believe we've got him, to be honest. But yeah.
Brilliant finish.
Love him. I love him, mate. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, you're right too as well.
He's brilliant. Right, moving on. moving on. Fergal, the time has come. Give us the Just Another Fantasy update for this week.
So we had we had George, who good job he's not on this week, because he picked
That's
Bowen
why he's not on.
and got 2.
Jared
So
Bowen.
he's up to 5 in total.
Jared Bowen was 4 today. He was.
Or last week as well.
Yeah.
Me and Ali picked Haaland, expecting him to his bag full of goals. He ended up just getting an assist. So
I
bit
blame Phil
disappointing.
Foden. Should have squared it.
Yeah,
Moving
very
on.
true. So we got 5, which at least we got something. But when it's Haaland
8
against Bournemouth, I was
touches.
hoping
He had
for a bit
8
more.
touches, Haaland. Do you see
Yeah,
that?
that is mad.
He had
And
2
that's
passes. One was the kickoff and one was an assist.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
That's pretty mental.
Yeah.
It's mental in a Guardiola team. Like I don't know what.
But
he,
is it?
Like,
Is it though? Is it because they
Lukaku
just
got 7 touches in that game? He got completely slagged off about. So like he's does 8 touches make you have a good game? You know what I
But
mean?
he made an assist and he got in a position to score, but Phil Foden didn't, reach
I
him.
don't know if
Man
it is
City
that
routinely won,
mental.
so.
I don't know if it's that mental when you watch Man City, especially when they're in the lead. They do pass the ball around a lot, and they don't really pass it forwards much. They kind of just
Yeah.
pass, and they just wait. So I'm not that. I mean, granted, 8 is always surprising, but
Yeah, 8 is too low.
yeah, it is too low. He
Not
didn't
even
quite
one
get
every
the
10
Lukaku
minutes.
treatment. They didn't quite get the Lukaku because Chelsea won that game. They ended up winning that game. So you couldn't
1-0,
even.
I think.
Yeah, so you couldn't even say it was because they'd lost or drawn or whatever. Yeah, it was anonymous. But what about me,
yeah.
Fergal? This is the big bet. This is the
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
you picked KDB.
This is the
He
Renaissance.
smashed it. 14
yes,
points.
beautiful.
He's come back stronger this season. Harry's top was 16. Ali in second on 7. I'm third on 6, and George is last on 5. So big gap there to already out in front.
Yeah, that's
Excellent.
huge.
Mate, look, I'm on the comeback trail. I'm mounting a I'm going to redeem myself after last season's disappointing showing. I'm in the mood. I've been doing my research. It's good. I fancy myself to win it this year, so
All right.
all for it, lads. All for it, and I look forward to next week's when I inevitably extend my lead. So thank you very much for updating us there, Fergal. And on that note, I think we'll call it a night. Thank you very much for joining me, boys.
Alrighty, thank you.
Pleasure as always. Hope you guys enjoy, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.